Arena shooter games are one I've never really picked up or played. I've heard Brotato be called an arena shooter compared to a horde survivor like Vampire Survivors, and I can agree that a game like Brotato doesn't have that horde survivor feeling to it, and it feels more arena shootery, I guess you could say. I love Brotato, we know that, but there's a game I've been wanting to play for a while that reminded me a lot of Brotato, and it's God of Weapons. It was created by Archmage Games, a studio based in Vietnam, who don't have any other games on Steam besides God of Weapons, but do have one other game made called Lair of Noctoros, which does have an 11-second trailer on YouTube. Really, I don't know anything about this game besides it's procedurally generated. Their website tells me nothing. But luckily for us, I do know about their somewhat successful title, God of Weapons, on Steam, so really, let's discuss everything we can about this game and see if it's really a great arena shooter, or just one you should skip out on. With a game like this, it's pretty simple, really. Every run, your goal is to just survive 20 waves, with each wave getting a touch harder and a little bit longer. Runs have a few items that make you invincible or heal you inside of a wave, but where God of Weapons really shines to me is the inventory management. The waves are quite simple with just surviving, like Brotato, but in between waves you can spend gold that you earned on items and weapons. But what's unique is how you organize them. Every time you level up, you gain 2 inventory spaces, which makes your briefcase bigger, and every weapon and item takes up a different amount of space. Clearly, a game like this reminds me of Resident Evil, Backpack Heroes, or Backpack Battles really, but in an arena shooter environment. It's a fresh take on a type of game that has already been close to perfected with its competition in Brotato. I've spent more time on organizing my items and trying to get as many benefits as possible than surviving in the waves, because a lot of items can receive bonuses based on similar items being adjacent to them. While I do love the organization, I'll say the item variety can be scarce at times, as in my 10 hours or so, I've mostly used the same items in all of my runs, regardless of the difficulty, which, like Brotato, has 5 different difficulties, each one adding more enemies and elite enemies. I like this core gameplay, these arena shooter, vampire survivors, whatever you want to call it. They're simple games that are easy to pick up and they're a lot of fun. But the insides of God of Weapons is more brain twisting than anything else because of the inventory management. It has a lot of similarities to others in small areas, like getting extra buffs based on similar weapon types and all the different stats that get affected. You can see those on the right side. It's a game that I could probably play for 2 hours at a time max, but easily unlock everything as time goes on. Now, I like the core gameplay. It's simple and fun. The variety as well, it's nice, but mostly outside of a run with characters and everything to unlock. But on top of that, I'll say unlocks can still get a little more tedious as time goes on, and I'll explain that right now. The biggest variety outside of a run is the characters. God of Weapons has a handful of characters to pick from and unlock. Each one has 3 different aspects that give you different starting buffs, and they all have different starting weapons and items to choose from. It's fun unlocking them all and trying to get a busted run. It's always fun to get a busted run in these types of games. The characters are great. I think it's not the best in its genre, but it provides enough for me to enhance the replayability and try to win with every single aspect. Where the game struggles a bit more is unlocking more weapons and items to find in a run. You have 2 main currencies with keys that unlock from doing quests, which you can see right on this little board, and then little gemstones you unlock for winning the run and just playing. If you actually win a run, you can get bonus gemstones, but on the highest difficulty, it's only 10 extra, and with that said, the amount you unlock is minimal compared to how much new weapons and items can cost. That's the biggest thing for me. I've unlocked a good handful of weapons and items, but it never feels like much. This unlock method isn't horrible, but it gets a little stagnant and makes the game less fun because it feels like I'm using the same weapons every single time, even when I unlock new weapons. You should get more gemstones to use after winning a run, especially on the hardest difficulty in my opinion. There's one more thing that I completely forgot to mention, and it's this game has actual meta progression with the prism stones that you get for beating runs, but the meta progression is still quite expensive in my opinion, which makes my point even more valid that winning on a higher difficulty run should give you more currency, because the meta progression plus the unlocks makes it really hard to manage. Yeah, I almost forgot about that, and I'm sorry. But overall, I like this game. I think it's a bit underrated, but does lack a lot of progression to make it fully stand out. But the core gameplay is a lot of fun, and the unique inventory management helps keep me coming back to the game. It lacks in unlocks if anything, and playing on higher difficulties doesn't really feel good. It does have close to 30 3,500 reviews on Steam with an 86% positive rating. So it's a well-received game, and for $6 US, I think you'll get your money's worth. It can't compete with something as good as Brotato, as that game is everywhere, but God of Weapons is genuinely a good time and was as fun as I remembered. I did rank this in a Horde Survivor tier list back in December and said this game was great, and I agree with that sentiment 6 months later. If you want to watch me play this game, I have all the runs that I have played of this game on my Let's Play channel that you can find here or in the description. Thanks for watching this quick little review of God of Weapons. It's a game I really wanted to pick up and talk about on this channel, so I'm glad that I did. And extra special shout out to the people that support me on Patreon. Still, that extra support really means the world in me trying to get this YouTube channel more consistent. And yeah, that's all. I'll see you next time.